Great. I see people coming in. Welcome, everybody. We are really excited to speak with you today. We're just going to let folks join for a few more minutes, so we will be on mute. But for those of you that are quickly joining, I already see we've got our number up to 24. My name is Lene Alves, and I'll be hosting today's webinar. And we are really excited to speak with you about opportunities in the advancement division at Loyola University Chicago. We're excited to have so many of our alums joining us today to learn more about this. So I'll give it a couple minutes and we will get started. Just so everybody is aware, we will be recording today's session, but you are all on mute and not on camera, so we should all be good. So we'll just take a couple more minutes to wait for people to join, and we will get started at 1 or 2 minutes past the hour. Thank you. Hello again, everybody. Some of you already heard me, but I just want to welcome everybody to our webinar today. We are really excited to speak with you about opportunities on the advancement team and opportunities at Loyola Chicago in general. But we are going to speak today about our advancement opportunities and meet some of the members of our advancement team and learn a little bit more about the jobs that they do. You are all on mute, not on camera. However, we will be recording today's session. Just want to make you all aware of that, and we will get started in just another minute or two. We're up to 40 people already, which is great. We have lots of interest in what we're going to be covering today. I'm very happy to have all of you here. So thank you for taking time out of your day to spend a little time with us. And I'm just going to give it about 30 more seconds or so, and then we are going to start the call, and whoever joins can just kind of catch up with us as we start working through our material and our content for today. I know that some of you who are on with us right now may have submitted some questions ahead of time. And so just know that we have those questions on hand, and we will be hopefully making sure we've got some time for Q&A right now booked at the end of today's session. So we'll address some of those questions in a general way. And then if we have any other questions that come up during today's webinar, I will encourage you to put them in the chat as they come up, or excuse me, I said the wrong thing, in the Q&A, which is at the bottom of your screen. Please click on that. And that's where I would like you to put any questions you have for any of us that come up throughout the webinar. We will go through and look at those at the end. We will not be able to answer them in real time because we want to make sure we get through all of our information for all of you. So with that, it is 12:02 and we are going to go ahead and get started. So thank you all for joining. My name is Lene Alves. I am the Associate Director of Development here at Loyola University Chicago, and I am your host for today's proceedings with all of my wonderful team members joining me today. As I said, but I want to say at the start now, we are recording today's session. You are all on mute and no cameras, so you are all okay. We thank you for coming. We invited our alumni because we want all of you to know more about what opportunities exist at Loyola, and this is a great forum for doing that. So just quick housekeeping. Again, any questions, please put them in Q&A, which is the bottom of your screen. We will reference those at the end of today's session, and we will do our best to address some of the previously submitted questions and or give you some future or additional resources for answering those questions at the end. So today, the reason we're here is Loyola's advancement team is experiencing a lot of growth, which is wonderful. We are investing heavily in this group. Our team is responsible for fundraising, which includes annual giving, working with larger individual donors, for example. So wealthy donors might be some of the people that some of our team members deal with and work with actively, those people who are really dedicated to the university. They might be alumni, they might be friends of the university, maybe they aren't alumni, but they really believe in the mission of Loyola University Chicago and the many wonderful things that we do. We also, of course, have a lot of team members who are helping support all of this, all of the fundraising efforts, including operations, IT services, alumni relations, and marketing. Over the past 2 years, we've grown our team in order to position Loyola for greater success moving forward. And today we want to provide all of you with information about what it's like to work in advancement at Loyola University Chicago. So today we've got panelists joining from advancement operations, advancement services, which includes, think of it a little bit like tech and information services, but it's a bit more than that. And you'll hear more about that in a moment. Alumni relations. So these are the folks who, help to reach out to you today. Development, which is another word for fundraising. So when you hear development, that's interchangeable with fundraising. And digital engagement and annual giving. So a lot of the emails that you might receive are from our digital engagement team. So you're going to hear about what that is today. So think of that kind of as a bit of our marketing arm. So a quick introduction. We'd like to have you meet all of the panelists today. My name is Lene Alves. Like I said, I'm an associate director here of development. I work on fundraising with our alums. I'd also like to introduce Andrea Wynn. Andrea is our associate vice president of health sciences. She works with Stritch and Niehoff, correct?
Stritch, Niehoff, and Parkinson.
And Parkinson, excuse me. Thank you.
All right.
Chanel Burns is our Senior Director of Advancement Services. You're going to hear from all of these guys in a moment. Jessica DePinto is our Chief of Staff in Advancement Operations. Heba Mahdi is our Assistant Director of Alumni Relations. And Husni Ashiku, tell me how to say your last name, Husni. I did it?
You got it.
Wow. Okay,
Nailed
good for
it.
me. He is our Associate Director, Content and Design, Digital Engagement, and Annual Giving. So this is the group that you're going to be hearing from today. You've heard their titles, but I'd like to have everybody introduce themselves. Again, refresh people's memory and what you do and how long have you been with LUC? So I'll let Andrea kick us off and then I'll walk you through everybody here.
Thanks, Lene. I'm Andrea Wynn. As Lene mentioned, I'm the Associate Vice President for Health Sciences here at Loyola. And I will be here 5 years in November, which is really exciting. I came to Loyola from DePaul University. I have a real affinity for Catholic higher education. Before that, I was at the Salvation Army, so very mission-driven organizations. My background is in law. I came to this field not as my first career. So I was a lawyer, trained as a lawyer. And then I got into sales as part of one of my jobs and loved it. And then when I talked to someone about this field, they said, there's a way to marry a sales career and a law career and do something meaningful. And that is what I'm doing here. And I did it through plan giving and I do it through a variety of the roles I've served in. I love Loyola. I love the mission we serve. I love that we, offer this excellent education to people that may have need. And I continue to be inspired by our students and by everyone I work with. Thanks.
Love it. Thank you, Andrea. Jessica, can you introduce yourself and tell us how long you've been at Loyola?
Sure. So I've been in this capacity since October of 2022, so just over 7 months. But I've been adjunct faculty at Loyola since May of 2015, and I teach in the School of Continuing and Professional Studies, which is our degree completion program. Like Andrea, I come to this role as a second career, and I love the mission and I love the access to education, especially in the School of Continuing and Professional Studies that Loyola affords.
Lovely. Yes, you wear many hats. Thank you, Jessica. Chanel, please introduce yourself and tell us how long you've been at Loyola.
Absolutely. Chanel Burns, Senior Director of our Advancement Services Unit at Loyola. I manage a few different teams, 4 different teams within advancement. Our Information Services and Reporting team, Data Integrity, Prospect Management, Research, and Data Governance and Project Management. And we'll get into a little bit of what all that means later on in the panel. I have been at Loyola a little over a year. I have been in the industry about 20 years. And so it has been my entire professional career in advancement. I've loved it. It resonates with me, higher education, the missions of higher education, the transformative impact that I think higher ed makes on the future. I have worked for a few different mission-driven, faith-based universities and a few that were not. And so for me, coming to Loyola, most recently I was at University of Chicago Booth School of Business, another fantastic university. But one of the reasons why I came to Loyola was really because the mission resonates with me, and in every area, in every aspect. And in addition to that, I think there's a lot of really, really good people that work for this university. And so it's one thing to just have a mission statement, and it's another thing to have a mission that's embodied and embedded in the culture of the organization, not just in the student experience, but also in the professional experience as well. And as I, having been here a little over a year, as I progressed through the interview process, and I've gotten to know a lot of our wonderful colleagues, not only within advancement, but externally across the university, it's just been so apparent to me that everybody embodies that mission. And that makes what I believe Loyola to be just a wonderful place to work and to come into and work at every day. And so I love being here. I love this industry. I'm committed to this industry. I get super excited about speaking to people who are interested in pursuing careers in advancement, because it's been something that has been such a wonderful opportunity for me my entire career. And so I'm just thrilled to be here and able to share some of those experiences and speak to the wonderful work that's happening at Loyola right now.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Chanel. Heba, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you and how long you've been at Loyola.
Absolutely. Thank you. So my name is Heba Mahdi. I serve as an assistant director of alumni relations. I've been at Loyola for a year and a half now, joined in December of 2021. My background is really in strategic communications. My previous 2 jobs were at a public institution in Kansas, working on recruitment and admissions, and then spent a little bit of time in student affairs supporting underrepresented students on student scholarships. So this is really my first job in advancement. I have been loving it. I echo everything Chanel has said about the culture and really connecting with the mission and having it be embodied in the culture here.
Great. Thank you so much, Heba. Husni, please wrap us up with our introductions. Let's talk about you. Let's hear a little bit about you and your experience and how long you've been at Loyola.
So my name is Husni Ashiku. I've been here for 2 years. My last 2 jobs were, I was at the University of Illinois working in their marketing department, where I made commercials and also wrote their guidelines, their brand guidelines. And then before that, I worked at The Onion, where we created really satirical, funny commercials. And also I was, speaking of fun facts, earlier we were talking about fun facts, there are 2 Onion articles with my face on them, which is pretty cool. Anyway, so I came from, I did not imagine myself in advancement or higher ed. And when I came here just for the job, to be honest with you. But I found a community. I found people who really care about the folks who work for them and work with them. And so I think what Chanel was talking about, I didn't know about coming in, but I found when I got here. So it's been really nice.
That's so nice to hear. And yes, I couldn't agree more. Our culture is strong here, and it's really something that you can't help but feel when you're a member of the staff working here at Loyola. So let's get started talking a little bit about what we do. So I'm going to start with Andrea. Andrea, since some of the people on today's call may not know much about the fundraising process, I would love it if you could give us kind of a high level overview of our fundraising, how, the teams that we have maybe, and just kind of in general, how this works and what it is that, what our mission is as a team.
Yeah, so I like to think of it as a life cycle. I think a lot of people talk about it as a life cycle. When you think of your experience as an alum of an institution or a donor, we start with someone that just graduated, and hopefully you've connected to your institution, you love Loyola, and you want to continue to support it, but you may not be in a point in your career where you can support it at a level that's a major gift. So you start by giving small donations, which we call annual fund. And that's through the mail usually, or when someone calls you on the phone, and you just start generally supporting the institution that way. And so we have a team that just focuses on the digital and the annual fund, which is letters through the mail, calling you, and then those smaller levels of support, which are still very meaningful to us, but that gets you going in terms of donating to the university. As you hopefully get more established in your career and you're at a point when you feel like you can make a more substantial investment and you feel really strongly and passionately about a mission, that's when you can give what we call a major gift. In between, there is some leadership giving, which is like where there's a bridge between that annual fund giving, which we have, let's say about 1,000 to 25,000. And then after that, you're really considering making an investment. It's something you have to think about. It's not something you can just send through the mail. Usually at that point, you're working with an officer like Lene or myself to talk about what that might look like, how best you want to make an impact. And then you take some time, usually, at least a year or more, to think about how you want to impact the university, and you make that big gift. So that's the major gift realm. And some people have the ability to make what we call a transformational gift or a principal gift. That's anything over $1 million. So that's someone that wants to name a school or name a program or do something much more transformational. And we work with that process, which generally takes longer because it's a big commitment. It's a huge investment, and we want to make sure it feels like a partnership. Do you feel completely connected to the institution? You feel like you're side by side with us when we're working together to do that. So that gift could, like I said, some of the larger gifts we have received have been notable in the news, and you see those in the news. The other gifts that we work on are called plan gifts, and those are people that want to do something with their estate. So that's someone that would be making a simple bequest, so something sort of provision in your will for your institution, again, because you love it and you want to make sure that support continues. Or some complex vehicles we have, which are, somewhat technical, but usually that's where you're involving a financial advisor and an attorney. So we're not just, there's a lot of people involved by the time you make that type of gift. So that's kind of the spectrum. And then along the way, we have different teams that are focusing on different populations within that cycle. So within major gifts, for example, we have a team that supports each of the major units: business, law, health sciences, but we also have regional, like Lene's on the regional team, and that would be people focusing across the country. So we're really reaching out to alumni across the country. That's it in a nutshell. It's obviously can get more complex than that, but I like to start there. And then we also have, I would be neglected if I didn't say corporate and foundation relations, which is another realm, which is not individual. We've worked with large foundations and corporate support and sponsorships. But the foundation process is pretty detailed, pretty technical. And we have a team that works on that because we want to make sure we meet what the foundation's requirements are. And we work on large, what we call RFPs. So foundations across the country will send out, we are looking for, we're interested in those individuals that can, or those programs that can support certain kinds of areas, cancer, children, stuff like that. So we're really just grateful that we have the components across the board, and then we have a team that supports all of that, and we all work really closely together. That's just fundraising. We work with these other teams with Chanel, who's Nihaba, and everyone else to make sure that that's a full complement supporting that work.
Great. Thank you so much for that overview. Perfectly said. Yes, lots of elements to kind of absorb in this whole world. So let's next move on to Husni. Husni, I know that your team, Digital Engagement Annual Giving, is a newer team that was built over the last 2 years. Can you provide a few examples of maybe the types of projects that your team works on? Like I said earlier, some of what you do might be kind of considered like marketing or promotion, right? Promotion of some of these large gifts that Andrea referenced a moment ago, or just promoting the university to our audience. So take it away and let us know a little bit about what you all do and in terms of supporting our advancement goals and mission.
Well, if you think about the journey of a donor into wanting to give, to actually giving and actually becoming annual giver, you know, there are small incremental steps, right? Which very similarly to marketing is sort of like the marketing funnel, right? And we, our team tries to figure out where are those, you know, identify those small steps and supplement those steps with, you know, visuals that can be photographs, that can be blog posts, it can be videos. I specialize in the video photography portion of that. And on top of that, we work with every you know, arm of the advancement team to also take on requests for videos and then create those videos for them.
Great. Yes, we, like everybody else, have moved into the world. Social media as a part of this, right? So
Mhm.
all of
Yeah.
these communication touch points
Right.
for our alumni, for our students, for our faculty, staff, for friends of the university, all of those visuals are coming through this group. All of those communication pieces are coming through this group. So they're doing an awful lot of work to communicate all the great work that we're doing at Loyola and or to make people aware of opportunities to support the great work that we're doing at Loyola. So we're super grateful for you and your team. Thank you so much, Husni.
You're welcome.
Heba, let's talk a little bit about alumni relations, which is really a multifaceted team focusing on alumni relations and engagement. Today is a great example, right? This event is engaging with our alumni members to tell them a little bit more about what we do and to maybe they are interested in joining the advancement team. Maybe they know somebody who, after this webinar, they might think, hey, they should take a look at this. So let's talk a little bit about the alumni relations team and how you fit into this picture, and maybe even share a little bit about some of the projects that you guys work on or events that you put together.
Sure, absolutely. So like you said, the alumni relations team is multifaceted. We're full of an array of experiences, partnerships, initiatives. I'll start off with what I do. I serve on the volunteers and leadership board side of the house. And so making sure we provide alumni opportunities and pipelines to connect with the university and make impact by sharing their time and talent with the university. This could look like board service. So for example, I serve as a liaison to the Black Alumni Board, Latino Alumni Board. Some of my colleagues serve as liaisons to the John Felice Rome Center Board, Graduates of the Last Decade, really these affinity groups, alumni affinity groups who want to serve the university and have a passion for Loyola. And so it's really providing that opportunity for alumni to engage back with the university. And so opportunities are endless within alumni relations, and I could talk about it all day, but I'll share a few highlights. So one of the biggest opportunities is Alumni Weekend. And something that our whole team works on. And so this is an opportunity for alumni to come back to campus, reminisce, meet new peers, continue that community and that passion that alumni, donors, friends have for the university. And really for our team to be able to support them in whatever they want to be or wherever they want to be. And so most recently, we've launched what we call our Suburbs series. So meeting alumni where they're at. We have a big alumni base here in Chicago. We have a lot of alumni who stay within downtown, but also within the suburbs as well. And so a couple of weeks ago, we hosted a Topgolf night in Naperville, had really great attendance. We have opportunities within the north suburbs. We have a family picnic in Arlington Heights. And so really, really excited to meet alumni where they're at, continue those Loyola relationships. A couple other things and that Andrea touched base on, we have professional school engagements as well. And so there is a team who works on the affinity around the Stritch School of Medicine, Parkinson Law School, right? And having those opportunities. And then in addition to that, we also work with campus partners and our advancement colleagues to really provide the infrastructure for engagement, help with strategic planning, help with opportunities for alumni within the campus and within the community. So that could look like being a guest speaker. We have a lot of alumni who are authors and published authors, so opportunities to put their books in the alumni authors collection with the university libraries. Just a lot of opportunities for volunteers to be part of that experience and continue their involvement with the university in whatever way they see fit. We pride ourselves on being alumni driven and really want to be and offer the opportunities that alumni want. And that just varies depending on the life cycle. So it's a lot of different things. But I will say, if you enjoy strategic planning, relationship management, event support, alumni relations is definitely the spot for you.
That's great. And a quick plug, Alumni Weekend this year is the last weekend in October. So just mark your calendar. If you are interested in joining us, you will be getting emails about that. You probably have already gotten a few, kind of asking you to save the date. And if you can't come the whole weekend, we have lots of individual events that you can attend. And last year was absolutely spectacular on the Lakeshore campus. I can't recommend enough that you join us for Alumni Weekend. And as Heba said, you know, our events that Alumni Relations work so hard on are opportunities for alumni to engage with the university, but also to foster engagement with each other, which is, again, in Chicago and Chicagoland area, especially where we have so many of our alumni, it's a really important piece of what we do. And we're so grateful to have Heba and all of the other team members who work on alumni relations, really expanding our reach to all of you. So that's they're really a big part of the engine here. Another big part of our engine and our backbone is Chanel and all of the really important areas that she oversees and that her team members support. So Chanel, we know you manage 4 teams. They might sound overwhelming to people, but it's, you know, data integrity, prospect management and research, information services and reporting, and data governance and project management. It's a lot. It's a long list of things. But maybe you can share a little bit, kind of, again, high level, you know, in general, what areas of advancement are your team? What does this all mean? What are you guys supporting for us in terms of alumni relations, in terms of, you know, contacting and staying in contact with our alumni, and in terms of fundraising? So I'll let you take a couple minutes to talk to us a little bit about your area and what you're responsible for and your team members and what they do.
Absolutely. So I think in the most simplest terms, the way that advancement can be defined is kind of 2 verticals. So you have development, which is the fundraising vertical, which is the group of people that are really responsible for, connecting with donors and advancing the mission of raising money for critical priorities at the university. And then you have alumni relations, which is really kind of focused on connection, right? It's volunteer engagement. It's really responsible for ensuring that, alums are kind of kept abreast of everything that's happening within the university, getting them back, keeping them engaged. And they're 2 sides of the same coin, but they're 2 very important distinctions. So you have fundraising, and then you have alumni engagement. Services within the advancement field, I describe as the engine that drives the train. So our teams are the infrastructure support that allows everybody to be able to do their work. And as you think about the different teams that I manage, information services and reporting, that is a team that does all of our BI work, all of our reporting on fundraising progress, but not just fundraising progress. We're also looking at engagement metrics and how engaged are our alumni populations, and what are some ways that we can improve on, ensuring that alums are again, keeping abreast of what's happening within the university, staying connected to the university, being aware of the different types of events and opportunities, volunteer. It's all living in the world of the data. And so we manage that and we report on it. So information services and reporting. We have our data integrity team, and that team is responsible for maintaining our constituent database, which houses all of our information on our constituencies. And our constituencies include not only alumni, but there are friends of the university who are interested in giving back. There are corporations and foundations, as were mentioned previously. There are parents, and really making sure we segment those populations, we communicate with those populations appropriately, we capture donor giving information in that database, and so we maintain all of that data that again supports all of the external functions within advancement. And then within prospect management and research, this team works really closely with our field fundraisers. So they're in lockstep with our field fundraisers, and they create, they really kind of segment our large alumni base and make sure that our field fundraisers, kind of in the different levels that Andrea described earlier, are working within the right populations of alumni to go out and engage with and solicit and connect with different priorities that we have within the university. So people who are already philanthropic, aligning that philanthropic interest with potential needs of the university. And so they do that as well. And so prospect management and research works really closely with that team. And then the newest team within services at Loyola is our data governance and project management team. And this is a team that really is responsible for all things, data governance, data management, data retention, data continuity, data fluency. And then also within that team, we have our trainers. So that team is responsible for kind of training internally the people that manage our tools and systems, but also our external users on all the systems as well. So that's kind of a high level version of what services does. But one of the things that I really want to emphasize is that if you are interested in a career in advancement and you do some research, and it's very easy to do that, you can literally go in and Google advancement services, advancement, CASE is our professional counsel. You will see at different universities, different nonprofits, there are many iterations of advancement services in our industry. So some advancement services teams will include teams like donor relations, the teams that's responsible for stewarding our donors. Other teams will include teams like change management. You can have annual giving teams that are embedded in services. So there isn't a one size that fits all, but the services unit that we have right now at Loyola is the one that best supports Loyola at the point that we are right now as an institution. So I just wanted to clarify that. So if you look at services teams, the infrastructure support at other places, you might see different compilations and structures, but some consistencies. And so it's very, I think it most closely aligns within the corporate world, information technology teams. You'll see a lot of those similar type positions and services support and data support, but it is nuanced, it is different. And so there are a little bit of differences in it, but essentially we're managing the data, we're managing the reporting. We are, we have to follow, very highly ethical standards of maintenance and reporting that align with IRS standards and CASE standards. And so there's a lot of regulation around the work that we do, and more technical skills than most technical skills that exist within advancement. And we're also very strong partners with our university IT colleagues as well.
Yeah, I would think so, for sure. Well, you guys definitely are the engine, no question about it. And, so we as fundraisers like myself and Andrea, we are inputting data into the system so that whether that's recording a conversation that we might have with a potential donor, or just even noting, hey, I tried to call this person today, or I emailed them today. So a lot of the things that Andrea talked about, sales being in her background, it's in mine too. So a lot of the same types of activities. It's typically called, customer relationship management. We are doing that here. CRM management just happens to be with these constituencies you heard about, our donors, our potential donors, our partners, et cetera. So let's talk a little bit more about fundraising, and I'm going to toss it back to Andrea. Andrea, this actually had been a question that was submitted by somebody prior to today's call. And the question was, what would you say are some of the more challenging aspects of fundraising, I guess at Loyola or just even in general, however you want to couch that?
Yeah, I think the main thing is that a lot of what we do is out of our control. So I can't fix the economy. I can't fix the way people are feeling about the economy. That's out of my control. If someone has a health issue that they're dealing with, I can't manage that. Or if there's a family relationship that's troubling, what I can do, what I have control over, is my effort and my productivity. So every day I have to have faith that I'm planting seeds with people and we're building a relationship that will withstand those things. Family issues, money issues, the economy. And it just requires a lot of faith and a lot of optimism. My mindset is just as important as the work I do. And I think the challenges we work on as a team are just sort of building each other up around some of those setbacks. Like I had a really promising, thought about this person, and then this happened and we talk about it. So those are some of the things that I think we deal with. I think the nuance with Loyola, and I would say to Paul and most of the other higher ed that are maybe Catholic based in the city, we tend to have a lot of first generation students, right? Which is wonderful. That's why I came to those institutions. I love first generation. I'm first generation. I will say there is a mindset around wealth and philanthropy that is different than people that have had historically wealth in their families over time. And so that's a psychological comfort about giving away large sums of money. That is another barrier. That being said, I think I'm pretty familiar with that mindset. I've worked with it. I have it myself. My family has it. So I get it. I really respect it and I get it. But it is another bit of a barrier. None of this is insurmountable. It's just you really have to realize that you do the effort and you let go of the results. And you trust that it'll work out.
Yes,
I would probably add to Andrea, one of the things, that we're all aware of, especially when it comes to development fundraising, is, people that have the means to be philanthropic and are philanthropic, we're not the only institution approaching those prospects. We're not the only institutions approaching those alumni. And so we have to really, when we build these relationships with our constituencies, present a strong case as to, why is Loyola the recipient of your funds versus, 3 to 4 or 5 other organizations that are really doing meaningful work that, may also be making a lot of those same arguments. And so there's, it's building the case, and I think also identifying the priorities of the donor and then aligning those priorities with the need of the institution and really being able to connect them back to the university.
Great, thank you. Yes, excellent addition, really good. And I would say just one other thing, we talked at the top of today's webinar about the fact that this team has been expanding pretty rapidly over the last couple of years. So we have a lot of new people, and that can present challenges. We have, a much bigger team than we used to have. When I joined this team, I've been at Loyola a year and a half, and I started in a different role. But when I joined this team, my group of donor prospects was completely new. They had not really been receiving any outreach. So you're starting from scratch, but we're building something, and it's really exciting to work on it and see how your effort, as Andrea said, over time, consistent effort over time really produces results. And that's what you can control. So that's what we do. So I'm going to turn it over now. I'm going to go just out of order on these last 2 questions because I want to make sure we have time for our Q&A today. So Jessica, I would like to grab you for a minute and talk a little bit about your role as Chief of Staff. This is a title that is growing a bit in popularity in general. It's one that didn't really exist not that very long ago, outside of course, the White House, and other large organizations like that. But you've got a direct view into what's happening on this team at a very high level. You're engaging with the top leaders of our group. I'd love to kind of hear some of your thoughts on why you might recommend joining the advancement team, and even to talk maybe a little bit about your previous experience that led you into this career. That would be, I think, be interesting for people to hear about on the call, because again, I don't know how many of them, if any of them, have experience in advancement, and that's not required for what we do. A lot of these roles, your skills are transferable. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about your role as Chief of Staff and a little bit about your prior experience, if you don't mind.
Sure. So I'll start with the prior experience because I think it's the why behind this role. So I like to call it the Joseph Campbell heroine or hero's journey, which is I started in higher ed. I started as a graduate student in the humanities, eventually thought that I could make a more significant impact working in law and the regulation of international business and international trade. So my journey is a little bit circuitous. Coming back to higher ed, I practiced law in both a boutique setting as well as a mid-sized firm, and then also had experience in the Big Four doing international trade regulation. While I was at the Big Four, I had the wonderful opportunity to be engaged with a group. It was a group that crossed levels, and we were on their leadership and training and development squad, is what they called it. I enjoyed the opportunity while there to work in what is truly a learning culture outside of higher ed. So that got me thinking about, very similar to Andrea's journey, what can I do with all of these different experiences to bring me back to higher ed? And like I said, the Joseph Campbell's heroine or hero's journey. And so when I saw the opportunity for Chief of Staff, it really is a way to integrate all of these experiences. Why did I join Loyola Chief of Staff? I think it's evident from all of the stories that you've heard today from my colleagues. Brilliant people, talented, committed, with a variety of experiences. Why Loyola? I like to say I grew up in the health sciences campus's backyard, and the majority of my family was either born, cared for, treated at the health science campus. And so my first introduction to Loyola was as a child, visiting people or being treated at Loyola. So I always had this connection to what the Loyola meant to our community, to my community, certainly growing up in the western suburbs. The role of Chief of Staff, you nailed it, Lene, it's an evolving one. Recently, so you've seen Chiefs of Staff in a corporate setting. I would say probably within the last year or two, you're starting to see a lot more Chief of Staff roles within higher ed. So the goal there is really to be a strategic business partner for, in our case, Vice President of Advancement and her executive leadership team to try and execute on the strategic plan and strategic vision, right? Implement it. So what I do changes on a daily basis, but we're forming it. So it's really about managing the business rhythms of the organization, bring some structure to annual planning, our performance reviews, our financial cycles, to facilitate cross-functional alliances between our team so that when we do the planning, special project initiatives, we're really trying to work together as a team and not in a siloed fashion. The thing that brings complete and utter joy to my heart is learning and trying to craft with all of the folks on this call a learning and professional development culture. We're kind of at the incipient stages, the beginning stages of that. So for me, it's exciting to be at that stage. I like to say I'm an educator at heart, so I'm trying to apply that passion and skill set here in advancement.
Thank you so much. That's so great. I appreciate that. We just have a few minutes. So here's what I'm thinking I'd like to do is maybe each of us can do a quick round robin. I'm going to start with you, Chanel, to say, what advice you might give to somebody who's seeking a job, whether or not they have prior experience. Let's assume not. I mean, I think the path, if you have that prior experience, is a bit obvious and that will work well. But if somebody doesn't have that experience, what's one piece of advice that you might give? And then if anybody else wants to unmute and share, or just raise your hand, you can unmute yourself and we'll go around before we open it up to Q&A. And for our attendees, please put your questions in the Q&A. You'll find that at the bottom of your screen. We would like to go to those next. And I will also be referencing some of the questions that were submitted ahead of time. So with that, Chanel, your advice.
It's not prescriptive. I think that, and I think it's been, shared throughout this panel. You mentioned transferable skills. Absolutely. I think the first place to start is preferably for us on the Loyola website, the Loyola job site, and the advancement team, and see what's open, what positions are open, and see if there's anything that resonates with you. And it's, very rarely do we have applicants and candidates that fit all of the criteria. And so if you see some skills that are, some skills that align with you, or even an interest in pursuing something new, something different, and maybe your qualifications aren't exactly aligned, reach out to our HR recruiter, reach out to the hiring manager, have an informational chat. Even if it's not the right position for you right now, it will give you an opportunity and in the door to at least learn about our industry and our business in general. And there's always new positions being posted regularly. And I would also encourage you to look externally, again, to some of those external resources out there that will educate you on advancement, the different career paths within advancement, and so many different units within advancement. Some of those are more forward-facing, working with the donors. Some of those are more like my teams, working with the data, reporting, operations, and just seeing what you might be interested in and learning as much as you can about the industry, and looking for positions that might interest you, and having those chats and understanding transferable skills. And I would say within Loyola, especially with most universities, we absolutely, we look at our alumni applicants first and foremost, because we understand that they have the education and the alignment with the mission, with the mission. And, and we're really interested in talking to those applicants and those interested in those positions. So I would say, have those conversations, do your research, look and see what might interest you, and keep learning about our industry in general.
Great. Anybody else have any advice for people before we open it up to their questions about what advice you might give to somebody who's looking for a job here at Loyola?
I would say, be persistent. Loyola, I knew it's in my backyard growing up, and I knew ultimately this is where I wanted to be. And it was persistence and an understanding of what the need of the university is and was, and where I could serve in the right capacity.
That's great advice. And, I'll jump in here actually, because my road to Loyola, in brief, I spent 29 years in a corporate career. I was in advertising sales, and then advertising sales leadership at companies like the Chicago Tribune and Comcast was my last role. So I made a total shift. I left corporate America and I started a career coaching business on my own. And that is what ultimately led me to Loyola. There was an opportunity to be a career coach at Loyola, a job I had never considered, ever, had never even thought I would be able to work in higher ed, because I was familiar with the model that a lot of people who work in higher ed have been in higher ed. But that's changing. And I'm grateful for that. So I started my job as a career coach at the Quinlan School of Business, working with our undergraduates. And then I, missed my sales activities that I had done for my entire career. And then I learned about advancement and about fundraising, which is what I then moved into. So what's so interesting about having an opportunity to work at the university is then you learn about all the other opportunities that there are at the university. And universities I mean, especially like a Loyola, they're big places. So there's really interesting stuff that you can find. But really the point is I was able to kind of leverage, transferable skills initially as a career coach, but now I've gone back to my sales roots, which are much longer and deeper, and been able to tap into those skills and that experience in my current role. So anyway, maybe that gives our attendees a little sense of that. We're running at about 12 minutes to the hour, so I'm going to just take a quick peek.
Just sorry, can I add one thing?
Yes, please do. Yes, Susan.
Sign up for Loyola Linked. I think that would be a great place to meet people and become a mentor or a mentee and just network. I just wanted to give a quick shout out.
Yes, that's a perfect idea. And yes, we are on there, right? So you will see people from Loyola on Loyola Linked. And if you want to reach out to us there or on LinkedIn or wherever you might look for us after today. Today, we are going to add a couple of links into the Q&A and maybe the chat, both. Maybe if you can put them in both, Kristen, just for people who are looking in either place. But we had some questions, and the reason I mentioned I was a career coach is we had some questions about that came through. But first, let me look at what I have sitting in chat right now. In the chat, we've got a question that says, I'm currently in the Twin Cities. Do you have any remote work? We do have some remote opportunities. So if you check our careers link, which will appear in the chats or in Q&A, and you will also receive in a follow-up email after today's session, you will be able to look for those. Every role is not remote. Some are, and some are not. We have a number of roles that are hybrid. So it's really a role by role kind of, piece of our puzzle, but there are definitely full remote opportunities that you will be able to find. And looking in our Q&A, what are the first steps to get started? Is there a contact we should reach out to? So we're going to give you those links so you can take a look at what roles we're recruiting for now. We would love for you to bookmark that page and revisit it. If we don't have a role, as somebody said earlier, that is really a fit for you right now based on your skills and your experience that you bring to the table. But if you do find roles that are aligned with your skills and experience, we would obviously love to hear from you. Any other questions from our attendees today in either the Q&A or chat? I'm going to take a look really quickly at the ones that were submitted and see if we've covered all of these. So somebody had said, how can fundraisers from other fields transition into higher ed advancement? Hopefully we've answered that. That is a super transferable skill. You don't need to be in an institution of higher education to have those fundraising skills translate. In all likelihood, the work that you're doing in a different environment for fundraising is going to translate, just as the work I did in advertising sales actually translated in terms of the core of the role. Let's see. We had examples of how you use networking skills to make a career pivot. Again, I think that this is something I wanted to mention about career coaching. While you won't be able to go into a lot of the specific career coaching questions today, one of the other things that we are going to supply you with is a link to our career services page, because a lot of people had questions about that. And I want to just note for everybody on the call today, our career services are available to our alumni. So even if you graduated years ago and you are in a job transition right now, you can reach out to your school, or you can reach out to the general, and you'll see the general link and you'll be able to get to your school. But for example, Quinlan is where I worked specifically, but every school is going to have that support available to you. So if you have more specific questions around, say, resumes, or how do I promote my transferable skills to one of these jobs, I really invite you to either phone or email in to our career services team members, and they can match you up with a career coach, and you can set an appointment with a career coach. All of this is free, and it's all part of being a Loyola alumni. You may just need to get access to a system which is called Handshake, which is where we do all the booking of those appointments, but just want to make sure that I I mentioned that to all of you because we did have some career questions and we did answer this one. And I think that's most of our questions that we've gotten. So says, can you share the link with the audience? Okay. Sorry. Let me get these. So I'm going to put this one in the Q&A, which I believe everybody can see, I think, or can I put this in here? I don't think I can. I heard.
Lene, it might be one of the links that you can share at the end.
Actually here, I'm just going to go ahead. I think I figured it out. So now I've just in the webinar chat, I have put the one of the links that Kristen just gave me, and let me give.
Well,
I think another
There's
question.
another
is-
question that came in, yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
one thing that I can offer up as a professor in the School of Continuing Professional Studies, we encourage our students to connect with the professors on LinkedIn. And I have had students 5 years out come back and either ask for a reference or ask for, questions about, do you think I might be a good fit for a particular role? Can I just pick your brain for a bit? And my answer is always yes, because what I like to do is forge the relationship between not only the student and myself as an ongoing resource, but importantly amongst themselves. So I'll even start out in the class to say, amongst yourselves, you're looking at your greatest resources and your greatest strengths because you have a shared experience.
Absolutely. Yes, I think that, and going back to Husni's comment, Loyola Linked is going to be a great resource. Certainly for, again, many of us are on there already. You can reach out to people individually. We don't really have a recruiter to connect with. We have people on our HR team who are reviewing all of the applications that come in through our website. So one of the things that I always recommend to people is reviewing our postings. If you don't see something that aligns with you, like Chanel had mentioned earlier, doing some research to see if a role that would align with your skills and experience would be something that might exist here or not, but certainly reaching out to some of the specific people or schools within our institution to see, to explore that as well. I mean, like I said a few minutes ago, universities are large places, and I have found even in my work, even though I'm working with donors, I'm often given the opportunity to kind of sleuth through the institution and the university as a whole and through all the different pieces and parts of it. And there's a lot of information to be mined, a lot of opportunities that you wouldn't know about unless you kind of went digging for them. So I think that's a great question. But yeah, probably until somebody knows something a little more specific about you, we might not be able to direct you very specifically at this point. Sorry, Heba?
That's okay. I just wanted to add, for those online and who have not heard of Loyola Linked yet, it's a platform that connects alumni, students, staff, faculty, friends of the university who can connect on there. It's an opportunity for students to reach out to alumni, for alumni to mentor alumni, for you all to connect with employees as well. So just wanted to put that out there for anyone who's not heard of Loyola Linked yet.
Yes, thank you. You may have seen, you may have gotten some emails about it. So if you didn't catch them on their way in and you didn't delete it yet, go back and search your email for Loyola Linked, all one word. So it's basically like our LinkedIn, a closed LinkedIn for Loyola University Chicago for, again, our alumni, our students, our friends of the university who are interested in engaging with other members of the university in mentoring and networking in any other number of ways. So with that, I don't see that we have any other questions from our group. I want to thank everybody who has joined us today, and thank you for hanging with us for a whole hour. We have really enjoyed spending time with you, and we hope that we've given you a window into what we do as a larger group and then as individuals as well, so you can kind of see and assess what are some of those potential opportunities that might exist for you if you were interested in working at Loyola University Chicago. Let me make sure I've got both of the items transferred over. to our Q&A. And if not, we're going to get this to you. Here we go. Oops, that's not going to work. Okay, we're going to get this to you through emails rather than me messing around with it now. So know that you will get a follow-up email today, and it will have the link to career services. It will also have the link to the job opportunities that are currently available for Loyola. Like I said, and like a few others said, keep looking at that if you are interested. Loyola is an absolutely wonderful place to work, as I hope you've been able to discover today. We all really love the institution, the mission, and the work that we do. And we're really excited for what the future is bringing. And we certainly hope that we will see some of your names coming through on some applications sooner than later. So with that, I would like to close our meeting and thank you all again for coming. We really appreciate your time, and thank you to all the panelists and all the organizers who put this together today. It's really been a pleasure, and I hope everybody has enjoyed it. Have a great day.